All right, now let's get the latest from our correspondents, Noor Harazin in central Gaza and Stephanie Fried in Tel Aviv. So let me begin with you, Noor. According to Palestinian authorities, implementation of the truce was delayed by last-minute details. And then, of course, the situation is fast-moving, with Qatar, who brokered the deal, saying that a new announcement could be made in the coming hours. What do we know about this changing time frame?
Well, yesterday's morning, the Qatari foreign minister said in a statement that both Hamas and Israel finally, and after intensive negotiations, reached a ceasefire agreement, a truce, a humanitarian truce agreement. According to Hamas officials, for example, Musa Abu Marzouk, he went in a statement and he said that the truce will enter into effect on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Gaza time. However, nothing changed here on the ground on Gaza. The truce apparently is delayed, postponed maybe until tomorrow, Friday. According to leaders in Hamas and some of their statements, Israel does not want to allow actually the humanitarian aid that will enter the Gaza Strip during this 4 days truce to be delivered to northern Gaza. And we all know that there is hundreds of thousands of people that are still stuck in northern Gaza. Others say that the reason behind the delay of this truce is the Hamas not wanting to release the names of the hostages that they want to release. So until now, we don't know the specific details of the delay of this truce. However, people here on the ground are hopeful that tomorrow, Friday, the truce will come into effect and they can at least take a rest from this very intensive Israeli war on the Gaza Strip.
And then as people are staying hopeful for any possible development on this deal, let's talk about the abduction of the director of Al-Shifa hospital. What do we know about that, and what's next for the facility with most of its senior personnel now taken prisoner by Israel?
Well, yes, this morning, Dr. Khalid Abu Salmiya, who is a doctor inside the Al-Shifa hospital, talked to several actually journalists, and he told them that the Israeli forces entered and stormed into the buildings of the Al-Shifa hospital, arresting the director and also other members of the medical staff inside the Al-Shifa hospital. He said that now inside the Al-Shifa hospital there is 180 patients. Some of them are people who got injured during Israel's war on the Gaza Strip, but of course they cannot move around, they cannot walk on their feet. So until now they are still stuck inside the hospital. With them there is 3 doctors and 4 nurses, and they are trying their best actually to assist the people inside the hospital until somehow they get any answer from the ICRC or the UN or anyone that could give them information about the medical staff that the Israeli forces arrested, including Dr. Mohammad Abu Salmiya, who is the director of the Al-Shifa hospital. At the same time, Israeli attacks on other Palestinian hospitals, for example, the Indonesian hospital in northern Gaza. For several days now, the Indonesian hospital has been under heavy Israeli shelling. Actually, 12 people who were inside the hospital were killed. They were taking shelter, displaced families. Also, a number of doctors were injured. For now, they are also waiting on the ICRC and the UN to put any effort to at least to evacuate the people who are still stuck inside the Indonesian hospital, even though the safety road that the IDF call, which is Salah ad-Din Street, that people normally take to flee and move from northern Gaza to southern Gaza, is not safe enough. Actually, yesterday the Israeli forces arrested the ambulance drivers of the ambulances that was evacuating people from the Indonesian hospital to here to southern Gaza.
Noor, thank you so much for that update from central Gaza. And now let's also hear some more perspectives from Stephanie. Stephanie, what do we know about the hostage delay from the Israeli government standpoint?
Well, first of all, I'll give you a little bit of background, Mang. I'm here in what's called now Hostage Square, and that's what it's been called for the past month. This is where families, they're here, family members of hostages, they sleep here. If you can see the tent behind me, I'm not sure, but they've been sleeping here for a month, and this is where people from all over Israel come to support the families as well. What we understand from the government here and the reports that we're getting is that the agreement was that every evening, on the eve of every release, which was to transpire over a 4-day period. So 10 hostages released every day over 4 days, was scheduled to start today, Thursday. Wednesday evening would have been each evening that Hamas would give names of the 10 people. They weren't able to do that Wednesday evening. And they haven't signed the agreement. This is documented. I mean, it's documentation. So that's what has held up the release of the hostages and also the ceasefire. And there's a lot of question. There's a lot of speculation over why they're not able to give the names of people who would be released. Is it because they don't have full control over all the hostages? Because possibly some of the hostages, or a good number of them, aren't alive? There's a tremendous amount of speculation around this. Yes, Qatar has said repeatedly this morning, well, soon we'll have a signed deal, soon it's going to be implemented. But the understanding here is nothing is happening until it happens. So that means as well, there's no ceasefire. Now, Israel has said that it's certainly part of the deal, and this is a deal that's been backed and drafted and pushed by the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt. So they're the intermediaries, and they are part of the people. Those are the parties who are also forming the stipulations. Part of that deal is humanitarian aid. So Israel has absolutely agreed to humanitarian aid, and lots of it going into Gaza, although they don't want to. The Israeli government's not interested in aid trucks that also would carry weapons and fuel for Hamas to rearm itself and to regroup itself. And they understand that, but that's part of the deal. They want the hostages back. They're hoping that tomorrow could be the start of a hostage release. But for right now, again, the chief of staff here says, as long as there's no deal, as long as it's not signed, war continues. There is no ceasefire, and this is day 48 of the fighting.
And the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah continues. What's the latest on that front, Stephanie?
Well, that's right. Hezbollah has been launching rockets, mortars, anti-tank missiles, sending drones over the border since the start of this war. And that's in the past 24 hours has been no exception. And in fact, the biggest launch ever that has come from Hezbollah operating in Lebanon came in the past 24 hours, 50 launches. So Israel is striking back, and they say they'll continue to strike back. The situation on the northern border is not good. There has been this constant back and forth, constant strikes, launches, and then counter strikes. Israel striking the positions that they're seeing launches coming from. And that's been ongoing for the past month. But at the same time, the officials that I'm talking to here, national security advisors, former national security advisors, who are saying, right now they're keeping it on a low boil. The concentration, the focus is on Gaza. If they have to open up a full front in the north, they will. They, meaning the Israeli military. But right now, the focus still remains on Gaza and what will happen in Gaza. And just as an aside note, back to this part, or the southern part of the country, right now you've got UK Foreign Secretary Cameron, who is visiting, David Cameron. He just visited Be'eri, which was one of the communities in southern Israel along the border that was hit hardest. That's called the ground zero of when Hamas came in on October 7 and killed people and tortured people and kidnapped people. He said that he saw things he will never forget. At the same time, Minister Cameron is saying that the 4-day pause, if there will be a 4-day pause in this fighting and there will be a hostage release, it'll be a crucial step toward relief. The people here behind me, the families, very cautious, not super optimistic, and they're very, very fearful that something won't happen.